Willie.
Hi, Joe. Hi, fellas.
Hey, nobody asked you to come here.
What's so special about this shack that somebody needs an invite?
Well, come on, Willie. Take a look around.
You sure George can't come in?
Oh, no, this is a very exclusive club. You're the guy we want.
Yeah? How about that?
Come on.
Hey, you got a TV.
Well, sure thing. Nothing but the best. Sharp bills. Hey, what do you think?
It's cool, Joe.
Oh, it used to be Dad's workshop, but he never gets much chance to use it, so he turned it over to me and said I could do anything I wanted to it. So it's going to be the headquarters for the Vikings.
And we need a guy with your talent to put on the finishing touch.
What do you mean?
Oh, well, we heard about those real sharp backgrounds you painted for your church Christmas pageant.
So?
Well, so we figured you were the guy to paint us a real gone mural on that wall.
Yeah, and right here in the middle, we want our slogan. All for one and one for all.
Will you do it?
Well, I might.
Hey, that's great, Willie. How long do you think it will take you?
Oh, a couple of weeks, I guess.
Oh, if you really work hard at it, you can do it quicker than that, can't you?
Why? What's the rush?
Well, our first regular meeting is set for next week. Right now, there's only 4 of us, but we're going to initiate 10 new members.
And you might be one of them, Willie. Remember, only the cream a la cream can join the Vikings.
Then how come you're in it, knucklehead? Hey, wait a minute.
I'll have it finished in time for you, Joe. Oh, I've always said if there's one guy you can count on, that guy's Willie Nelson.
Way to go, Willie.
Great.
Bill, if you don't hurry, you're going to be late for school.
Be right there, Mom.
Oh, come in.
Morning, Mrs. Nelson.
Good morning, George.
Where's Matt go?
Oh, he'll be down in a minute.
Hi, George.
Oh, Bill, how do you expect to keep up with your classwork when you spend all your time over at Joe Glover's?
Oh, don't worry about me so, Mom. I'll be all finished at Joe's in a couple more nights.
Well, tonight's one night you are not going over to Joe Glover's.
But, Mom...
No buts. Tonight is the family night dinner and the program at the church. You're coming, aren't you, George?
Sure.
See? Now, come on, dear. Let's have a nice breakfast.
Why are you knocking yourself out for Joe Glover?
I'm not knocking myself out for anybody.
I don't know what else you'd call it.
Okay, so I'm knocking myself out. You'd do the same if you had a chance to join the Vikings.
I've got absolutely no interest in joining the Vikings. And you wouldn't either if you had any sense. Not that you're ever going to be asked to join.
I'll be asked, all right.
Okay, so what if they do ask you? Big deal. When are you going to start cramming for the history exam?
I forgot all about that.
Well, if I were you, I'd start thinking about it.
Yeah. George, you're the old history brain. How about giving me a brush up during lunchtime?
I'd like to, Bill, but today's our roundtable day in the cafeteria. Remember?
That's right.
Hey, look, you better hurry up. We're going to be late.
Hi.
Hi.
Where's our Willie boy?
I haven't seen him.
I sure gotta hand it to him. That wall of his is really gonna be a knockout when he's finished with it.
You know, fellas, I've been thinking. We were only baiting Willie when we said we might let him join the Vikings, but, well, why don't we?
Oh, now don't go soft, Joe. We got no place in our club for squares like him.
And that's right, Joe. We only want guys who are really with it.
Come on, let's go. Well, hi, Bill.
Hi, Willie.
Hi.
Hey.
I'll see you at the clubhouse tonight.
Right. Oh, Joe,
Oh, yeah, Willie.
I won't be able to work on the wall tonight.
Why not?
Well, I've got a date.
Oh, well, that's okay. Guess you're sure entitled to have a night off. Say, Willie, why don't you have lunch with me and the gang today?
Sure, Joe, I can't today.
Okay, then maybe tomorrow.
Sure, fine.
That's pretty heavy reading you've got here, Willie.
It's not so bad once you get used to it.
What's a good book doing in your locker?
Well, you see, it's required reading.
Well, what teacher'd give you an assignment like that?
It's not an assignment, Joe.
Come on, man, I'm not reading you. What's with this?
I just like to keep it handy, that's all.
You mean you really dig this stuff?
Come on, Joe.
You know, sometimes I have a tough time tuning you in. You're operating on a frequency that's way, way out, Willie boy.
Oh, you sure pussyfooted and dodged around.
Who pussyfooted and dodged around?
When you said you had a date, I'm sure Joe didn't figure you were going to church. If the Vikings knew that, they sure would hardy-har, wouldn't they?
I don't have to advertise everything I do I?
Bill, are you ashamed of what you're doing?
Of course not.
Well, then why are you afraid to let the great Joe Glover know?
Oh, knock it off, will you?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Me too. Come on, hurry up.
I don't know why, but unless I'm with a bunch like this that feels the same way I do about things, I get tongue-tied every time I try to tell others what Christ means to me.
Well, Mary doesn't get tongue-tied. Do you know what subject she chose for her essay in speech class?
What?
Why I am a Christian. She got up in front of the whole class and read it.
I don't know why she makes it out to be such an achievement.
Well, I think it is. I bet you took a lot of kidding.
I didn't, and no one even laughed.
Well, why should anybody laugh? After all, being a Christian is really important, isn't it? God loved us enough to send Christ as our Savior. I don't think anybody would call that a laughing matter.
Well, that depends on who you're talking to. I think a lot of the so-called wise guys would laugh, but...
Willie boy, stop by the locker room after school for a minute, will you? Got something real important to talk to you about.
What's eating you, Bill? You haven't said a single word, and I know you don't know what we've been talking about.
Well, I've been listening all right. Frank brought up the subject of witnessing. He said he got tongue-tied every time he tried it. I was just thinking of the mess I made of things this morning.
What do you mean?
Well, in the locker room, Joe Glover noticed I was carrying my Bible.
Yeah. You acted like it was some kind of a crime.
I suppose you'd have sat him right down on the bench and started giving him a sermon.
No, I didn't
You
mean
can be
that.
sure none of the Vikings would go for it. Now, look, George, Joe caught me by surprise and, well, I admit I didn't handle things very well. Let's talk about something else, huh?
Okay. Oh, everybody all boned up for the history exam?
That's a subject I'd like to skip. In fact, I'd like to skip history as a subject permanently.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There's one thing I've been wondering about, though. Do you think it'd be okay to ask God to help us do an exam?
Not if we haven't already studied for it.
I don't think we can ask God to help us remember things we never learned in the first place.
George is right. I don't think Christians should let down on their schoolwork at all if they can help it.
I agree.
Yeah, so I better start cracking that old history book before it's too late.
I still say it's a mistake letting Bill in on it. I don't trust him. Just could louse the whole thing up. Oh, Willie boy's too anxious to please. He won't louse anything up. He's doing us a big favor. Now it's our turn to do him one. Knock it off. Here he comes. I'll beat it. I want to talk to him alone.
Willie boy,
Hi,
how you doing?
Hey, Joe. What did you want to see me about?
I've got something to show you. But before I do, I want you to promise that this is just between you and me, and that you'll mention it to nobody else, okay?
What is it?
Can't you guess?
No.
Still don't get it? You've been worrying a lot about that history exam, haven't you?
Oh, I got plenty of reason to worry.
Oh, well, not anymore. Old Shawsey's given us 50 questions. 50 questions that have to be answered with only one word, true or false.
How do you know that?
Well, never mind. But this little sheet of paper's got the right answer to every one of those questions. Now, is Joe Glover being a pal or ain't he? Now you've got nothing to worry about. What's the matter?
I don't want anything to do with this, Joe.
Keep it.
I couldn't cheat, Joe.
Hold it. Man, what's wrong with cheating on one lousy exam anyway?
Plenty.
Now take it back, Joe. Don't be a fool. There's nothing wrong with cheating unless you're caught, and there's not a chance in the world of us getting caught. Here, keep it out of sight. Now, just remember what old Joe Glover tells you, boy.
And just what did old Joe Glover tell you, boy?
Huh?
Hey, what's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Oh, hi. Come on in, George. Benedict Arnold was exposed as a traitor in 1778. The Tea Act was legalized in 1774, and the Boston Tea Party took place. Oh, I don't know.
You didn't know the first two dates either, and they were both wrong. It's a little late to try to prepare for the exam, Bill. How's the paint job coming along?
Finished it last night.
Hey, I'd like to see it.
Bill, Dad's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. Well, no, I'm not really worried about him, but he's been spending all his time over at Joe Glover's, and he's been neglecting his studies. Well, yes, today he has an important history examination. I don't see how he's going to pass it. Just a second, here he is.
Hi, Dad. Oh, everything's fine. Oh, that. Well, you know, history never was my best subject. Well, I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to study for it. Joe and some of his friends are starting up a new club, and I painted a mural for them on the clubhouse wall. Yeah, I know, but... Oh, wait a sec, Dad. No reason for you to bawl me out. I haven't flunked that exam yet, and maybe I won't. Yeah, I know I shouldn't have neglected my... All right, Dad. I understand. But don't worry about me in that exam. I'll pass it okay. Yeah. All right. Here's Mom again.
Hello, dear.
You're right with you, George.
No, I don't think you were too hard on him at all. He deserved it.
When you finish, write your name on your exam paper, bring it to the desk, and you'll be permitted to leave.
Yes, sir.
Why did you do that?
I wasn't prepared for the examination, Mr. Shaw. So there's no point in turning in my paper.
You'll remain in your seat till the end of the period. Then I want to talk to you. I'm very disappointed in you, Bill.
So am I.
Crumb. He's in there spilling the whole works to Mr. Shaw. I told you were a fool to let him in on it.
I don't get it. He had to copy the answers, too, so he can't squeal without getting himself involved.
Of course he can. Doug Swanson said he didn't even turn in his paper. He saw him tear it up.
I still don't get it.
It's very simple. At the last minute, Bill got cold feet and was afraid to cheat. So he tears up his exam paper, and when Mr. Shaw asks him why, he says, "Teacher, I cannot tell a lie. Joe Glover gave me the exam answers, but I'd rather fail the exam than pass it by cheating."
So Shaw thinks that Bill is a hero for telling the truth. But we're in a jam, Joe, a real bad one.
Yeah, I know.
We can't let him get away with it, Joe.
You're right. I'll fix Willie Boy's wagon real good.
Bill, you must have known the answers to some of those questions. By a true and false exam, the students usually guess at the ones they don't know because they stand a 50-50 chance of coming up with the right answers. I still don't understand why you didn't turn in your exam paper.
I told you, Mr. Shaw. I wasn't prepared for the exam.
All right, you're excused.
Hi, Willie. Hi, fellas.
Did, Mr. Shaw pin a medal on you?
Hardly. Why would he?
Then I won't. I ought to give you a real working over, you lousy squealer. If you didn't have the guts to cheat on the examination, you could have at least kept your trap shut instead of blowing the whistle on us. What are you talking about? Don't try to weasel out of it. I don't want.
Can the innocent bit. Why'd you tell Shaw we had all the answers to the examination?
I didn't tell. Don't give me that. Why did you tell Shaw we cheated? I didn't.
All right, hold it. That's something I didn't know until just this moment, Joe. Bill didn't say anything to me about anyone cheating. The only thing he told me was that he hadn't prepared for the exam and was unable to answer any of the questions.
You mean he really didn't squeal? Is that on the level?
That's right. But I'm surprised and disappointed to find that some of my students are not on the level. I suppose you tell me how you got the answers to that exam, Joe.
Oh, I can't. I admit I cheated. Isn't that enough?
Maybe we better thrash this out in my class. Anybody else involved in this besides you?
No, sir.
How did you get the answers for the exam, Bill?
I gave them to him.
Where'd you get them, Joe?
I'd rather not say, sir.
Very well. What made you change your mind and not turn in your exam paper, Bill?
I just couldn't. Well, I just couldn't go through with it.
How about the rest of you? Didn't your conscience bother you, Joe?
Well, I didn't think there was ever a chance of us getting caught.
Seems to me you think that no one is guilty unless he gets caught, is that it? Well, gentlemen, let me impress you with the fact that cheating is a reprehensible act. And not getting caught doesn't make it any less reprehensible. In fact, it's impossible to cheat and not get caught. Now, when you cheated in the exam, who did you think you were cheating? Me? Your classmates?
Well, I didn't think about who I was cheating.
That's just it. You weren't thinking at all. If you had, you'd realize you were cheating only yourself. And when a man cheats, he's deceiving himself and depriving himself of his good name, whether his actions become public knowledge or not.
Oh, we didn't take anything from anybody. We cheated. Well, it's not like we stole or hurt anybody.
If I hadn't happened in that locker room just when I did, I doubt if anyone except you and God would ever know that you cheated. So you'd have passed your history test. But in God's eyes, you failed a much more important test. I don't know what disciplinary action your parents will take, but I can assure you that Principal Curtis will not let you off lightly.
Does my father have to know?
I'm afraid he does. So do all of your parents. All right, now we'd better get down to the principal's office.
Well, what'd your mother say about your flunking the exam?
She doesn't know about it yet. She's out at the airport picking up Dad. I'll get it.
Oh, George.
Hi, Joe. What brings you here?
I wanted to talk to you.
Come on in.
I'm in the doghouse.
Suppose your father gave it to you.
Oh, boy, you can say that again. First it was Mr. Shaw, then the principal, and then my old man. Boy, did he ever give it to me. And then he insisted I should come over here and apologize for belting you one. I'm sorry, Bill, but I sure thought you had squealed on us.
If you really knew, Bill, you'd have known better.
Yeah, I know now.
Ah, come on, forget it. Let's go sit.
Well, you know, when I saw you talking to Mr. Shaw, well, I thought for sure that you'd... Well, tell me, why didn't you turn in your exam paper?
I'm ashamed to admit that I almost did.
Well, what changed your mind? Nobody'd ever known.
I'd have known. I guess I'm not much of an example of a Christian, am I?
I know how you feel, Bill.
If I'd have been on the beam, I should have thrown away those answers in the first place. I knew it wasn't right, even if I could get away with it. You know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to face the gang at our next youth meeting.
Why not? Would that bunch of squares hold it against you? Just one little mistake?
Joe, it was more than just a little mistake. My first mistake was in being too concerned about being popular.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing, if it doesn't stand in the way of a lot of other things that are important.
What, for instance?
Look, because I wanted to be popular, I spent a lot of time painting that mural when I should have been studying, just so I could belong to the Vikings. And then, when I knew I couldn't make that exam, I fell for your gimmick and used the answers.
Oh, but you didn't even turn in your exam.
No, that's beside the point. I never should have gone that far to begin with. I should have remembered that passage we discussed at our last youth meeting.
You mean from 2 Timothy?
That's right. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a workman who has no need to be ashamed. But I am ashamed.
Man, you sure take that stuff seriously, don't you?
Well, of course he does, Joe. Don't you see? Cheating or lying or any other kind of dishonesty is contrary to everything a Christian stands for.
Well, maybe you're right, fellas, but you've lost me. I'd better run on home. I don't want my dad to blow a stack again.
Joe, our youth fellowship and those round-table discussions at lunch, they're open to everybody, you know. Well, it's just a bunch of kids from our church who like to get together and talk things over. I wish you'd join us sometime.
I think you'd like it, Joe.
Yeah, well, so long, George.
So long, Joe.
So long, Bill.
So long, Joe. Come on, I'll walk you to the door.
You know something? Maybe I'll join you for lunch tomorrow. So long, fellas.
So long, Joe.